Okay, so recently I got a request to do a review of the fuzz pedals on the Quad Cortex. And it's not something I've ever really looked at before very closely for a couple of reasons. One is, generally, I'm not a big player for fuzz pedals. It's not something I've used a lot, even before I got into modeling. And also, when I did try out some of the fuzzes on the Quad Cortex, I was never super happy with them. I was always pretty disappointed when I ever tried one out, so I never really kind of took the time to dive in. But this is something that someone asked for, so I figured let's go ahead and kind of dive into it. And in doing this, what I want to do is also compare, the fuzz models that are available on the Quad Cortex, and then let's compare them to some of the captures that are available of fuzz pedals in the Cortex Cloud, both paid and free. So what I've got here is I've got a preset I pulled up. It's an older preset where I created a dual amp preset using a Mesa Boogie Lone Star and a Plexi. And I'm running those through 4x12s, and I just have a tape delay and a reverb on the end. And the preset right now just sounds like this. So, some grit coming from the Plexi, but overall pretty clean, even if I'm on the bridge humbucker pickup. Kind of a nice edge of breakup, maybe just past the edge of breakup tone that I think will do well for putting some fuzzes in front of it. So let's start with the fuzz models that are available on the Quad Cortex, and we'll start with the fuzz face. So you'll see here there's 4 controls. 2 of them are on the real-world device, the fuzz level and the volume level. And so it's just what you think it is. It's the amount of fuzz and it's the output volume. And then they've got these settings around the pickup level and the pickup type, single coil or humbucker. And so these 2 controls can kind of give you a little more flexibility in the kind of guitar you're using, and maybe a little more sensitivity than you'll get from the guitar volume. So if we stick with it on high, and I've got my volume on the guitar at 10, it sounds like this. So, very thick. If I roll the guitar volume back from 10 to, let's say, 5, you've got some sensitivity there. If I instead put the guitar back on 10 and I pull back the pickup level here to 5, and let's go ahead and let's switch the pickup type. Let's try that with humbucker on. So you can hear, you can pull back the pickup level and kind of clean up the fuzz. So you can tweak this based on the kind of guitar you have, and single versus humbucker, and maybe whether they're hotter pickups or lower output pickups, and kind of really tweak the sound you're getting from the fuzz, even without touching the fuzz control. But let's go ahead and put these all the way up, and we will pull the fuzz back. So let's pull that back pretty low. Let's just go to about 2. one thing I don't like about this is when you roll the fuzz back on the control, even though I'm still on my bridge pickup, it's a very kind of muffled sound. You lose a lot of kind of the clarity, and it's not really fuzzy, it sounds muddy, which is not good. So with this, I'm much more likely to leave kind of the fuzz up and pull the volume down, and I think you'll get a better. It's amazing how much of a difference that makes. So that fuzz is really sensitive right here in the top. I don't know if the pedal is like that in real life, but it's kind of strange. And the model is like from 9 to 10 is a huge difference. So let's move on. Turn that off. So the next is the Fuzz Pi. And this has the same controls you would have on the real pedal. So you've got the sustain, which is the amount of gain, the tone, self-explanatory, and the volume. So here it is in its default settings with everything at 12 o'clock. I don't know why you would even go more than that. So this one is not my favorite, but I just find it muddy and I don't know, it just doesn't inspire me. I think the Fuzz Face model is much more interactive and dynamic, and I think it's just a better overall tone. But let's move on. And the last of the models is this MK3 Silicon Fuzz, which I think is modeled after a JHS pedal. Again, you've got attack, tone, and level. This is, I think, the most recent edition. Came with one of the more recent releases, and it sounds like this. Let's crank it all the way up. Bring it down. If I roll the guitar volume down. If you can hear, there's a lot of hiss there with this one. If I turn off my noise gate, you can hear these things are pretty loud. That one not as much. This one's pretty loud because I have it cranked, so keep that in mind too. So we'll leave the input gate off so we can hear that with all of these. So overall, between the three models that are on here, I think the Fuzz Pi is my least favorite. I think the Fuzz Face and the MK3 are both pretty good, and there's some good flexibility here. Let's move on to some captures, though. And so the captures I have here is, there's two of them that are from Amalgam that are part of a pedal pack that I purchased. So these are captures that I paid for. And then I also went on to Cortex Cloud and just did a search for fuzz and pulled in some of the more popular, meaning the most downloaded fuzz captures that are out there, just so we could check them out. But let's start with the amalgam captures. So again, these are ones that came with a pack that I purchased. So this first up is it's an octave fuzz. And if we turn that on, the first thing I'll say about all these amalgam pedal captures is they're all very loud. So I bring them down about 12 dB on the volume. So a very specific tone, if we crank the gain a little bit just to get a little more fuzz out of it. Let's go ahead and move on. We've got a ToneBender Mark II. Again, let's pull this back. You can hear this is a very loud pedal in terms of hiss. So let's try pulling back the gain a little bit, up to about 8. Counterbalance with some volume here. So I think the models, I like how the models sound better than these. Obviously these are modeled after different fuzzes than the Quad Cortex have. So if you're after that ToneBender sound, you don't get that in the Quad Cortex. But just in the general fuzz tone, I think you get more flexibility from the models and a better tone overall. So let's move on to some of the free ones that I grabbed off the Cortex Cloud. The first one I got, this is a big muff. It says it's set at 1. I mean, right there, I think that sounds better than the captures from Amalgam. We pull back the gain a little bit. So, that one's pretty good. Move on to, this is EHX Microsynth. So this is an interesting tone. I like this. It's a little more tight. I think that's one of the things that makes me not as much of a fuzz player is I always find that fuzz tones are too loose for my taste. I like this one. It's a little bit of a tighter fuzz. Let's add a little more gain to that. So that one I like. I think of all of these so far, this is my favorite. Let's move on. So here's one that's a Joe Bonamassa fuzz face. Looks like it's set at halfway. That's real trebly. Let's go ahead and pull the treble back a little bit. nice with a little less gain to it. I mean, kind of fun. It's still not my favorite. It's a little too much top end for me. And then the last one I pulled back was this Myriad fuzz. This is nice. Pull some of the top end down, add a little more gain. Alright, that one's good too. So I think my favorites are, I do like this square wave one. That one's pretty good. And then this Myriad fuzz. So I would say those are my favorites, and I like them better than I can get from the models. So I think there are a lot of options for how you might want to get fuzz on the Quad Cortex. There's a lot of different approaches you can take to it. I don't think there's any of the models that are like a slam dunk. They're not bad, but I don't think they really react the way a fuzz pedal would. So you can get the tones, but you might not necessarily get the feel you want. Hopefully, if you're looking for these kind of tones from the Quad Cortex, this at least gave you a sampling of what's available. There's obviously tons more captures that are on the Cortex Cloud that you could pull down for free and try out. I just grabbed a few of the more popular ones, but again, I think it gives you a general taste of what's out there. So I hope you found this helpful, and thanks for watching.